Hi guys, it's Sky. Very nice to be connecting again. I wanted to give you some really interesting information, and this is coming after a couple interviews that I've been able to do that I am so honored. I have a wonderful show. It's called Transcending Realities, and it only is you're only going to get it through iEvolve TV. So I just want to let you know what's happening with this. It's very interesting. I think one or two videos is out that we have done, but there's after this and after a few comments that I had and quite a few questions that I had about the event and how it's going to take place, and some concerns about some things said. So I'm really happy to clarify, and I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy that you are on your journey with me and with us and this whole thing, because this is very real. It isn't something that we're making up. Planet Earth is in now, it is in considered to be showdown time, what we consider to be showdown time. Now that's a process. It starts well, I'm considering it starting pretty quickly, and then it's going to last for a couple years, but things are going to happen faster than we had anticipated. I had mentioned in my last video that there were robots that were going to come from the sky, and they were going to assist in attacking certain areas. Now, I know when you would just hear that, that sounds ludicrous, okay? But really, does it? When you have technology of drones, when you have technology of clones, and when you have a government that's run by Satanists that literally wants to trick you into believing that there's certain realities where there's people against each other and there's governments against each other, and that there's reasons to have such things like martial law, there's reasons to have such things to fight back. And the other thing that they're doing is there's a reason to literally take over your senses. Now, your senses are your limitations, and we have to understand this. It is not what you see. We are literally living in I want you to say a dream within a dream, and this is controlled by an artificial intelligence. Now, this sounds really crazy, but I went over this in length with a wonderful woman, and that was a Rothschild herself. And I was able to have this conversation with her just a couple days ago, and I do have that interview. And the most interesting thing is that, like I said, the dark literally is getting their messages out, and they're using people like us, like a light worker, a scientist, somebody like Erin Rothschild. She gave us a wonderful, wonderful interview, and she describes, the science. We have to remember the science of everything, and we have to remember the yin and the yang of everything, and the reason for the light and the reason for the dark. Now, I've always said that when you get outside of the matrix, you see the people and you see the parts, and you get the reality that we're in a matrix. Okay, but a lot of times that what we don't understand is how far down into that matrix we are, and who's controlling the artificial intelligence. Now, you could say we're in a simulated reality. She describes a simulated reality intertwined twice. Now, I've understood it once. She describes it twice because she talks about the ripple effect that took place in 2012, and we are coming up on this ripple effect very, very soon. And I've always talked about how, actually, we are on the fourth ripple effect, and if you talk to her about really, you'll have to see the interview yourself, because I just want to intertwine the reality of what's going on and the messages that the dark side too are giving you. When these two realities are, they're intertwined. Okay. So I have to get back to, you see, there's the ethereal. The ethereal. You exist on the ethereal. Now, there's a lot of trickery going on there. All the governments exist on the ethereal. There are equipment that exists on the ethereal. And most of your soul energy exists there that is being controlled in a dream, and the way that I always describe it is it's God's subconscious mind living backwards, because in truth we are at home with our Creator, Mother, Father, God in heaven, and we are just at having an experience of what you have chosen to experience when you came here. And there's a reason for the light and there's a reason for the dark, and that's one thing Aaron makes very, very clear. There is polarity here. There is the yin and the yang. Nothing exists without it. The most interesting thing that I love that she talked about is that this planet is more of, in her description, this is just, I'm paraphrasing the conversation, that this is more of a realm than a planet. Now, I understand her to be alive. I understand that I get messages from Gaia, and she wants us to look at it more like it's a realm. So I just thought that was an interesting thing for somebody to consider in their own searching. I've had so many people ask me personally, is this a flat Earth, or is it a round? And the light beings have always taught me. I'm just gonna wait, let me answer the question. The light beings have always taught me it's a disc shaped. And when you can combine those realities into, when you can combine the theories that are coming across now that we are in a simulated reality with all these dimensions, you can literally turn this upside down and see that. Now I have to give you a view of this. Okay, I have to take you back. Let me just pause this because I have to take you back. I have to get you into a little bit of science. In Scripture, we are living right now in an earth that is literally in the process of transcending into another earth. And we are at the, I wish I had some paper to write this down. It's okay. We are at the crossing stage. And if you were to view this, it's a circle, and it is another circle. It's a circle here, draw it, and another circle, draw it over and overlap it. In that middle section, that is where we are in the transcending stage of the Earth's process from the old Earth to the new Earth. And they talk about this in the Bible. This is the transcending stage. I'm not a Bible thumper, but they do break this down. And they also talk about, okay, so I just want to say also, when you do that little circle, and then you overlap another circle like that. Let's just be aware of sacred geometry. In that middle, you've got the birth. You've literally got the yoni, the birth of a woman. There's two legs and there's the whole. And right there is our symbology also of the Christ symbol. If you were to cut that in half, if you know sacred geometry, you could understand this. But when you see that we are literally in the stages of these two earths coming together, you understand why people like me are getting visions and getting taught by the light beings, which is what I'm going to go back to. The light beings are literally, they come from the keepers, or I don't want to say keepers, the keepers of this planet, the love keepers, the guardians, the one that are watching over this to make sure that certain things transcend, or certain things happen. And they are for humanity. They contact people like me that through a train of things. They could do it. I call them light beings because I relate kinetically. I'm literally touched. My nose is I am literally touched on the face, and then information is put in my mind. You might get a thought, and I get thoughts too. I see the light too. I do all that, but that's how my quickest is, because I'm very, very kinetic. I can literally tell you what's in around my energetic field and what's happening in yours. It's just a gift that I have after I had that situation with my daughter. And if you read my book, she's under MK Ultra, so I am very well versed in all of this stuff. And that's when the light beings and the keepers of this planet that is helping us, they are literally educating people like me to educate you, and they're educating you that we are under this planetary realm. It's divine, It's all under, like, if you came here, you have to work out your issues now, because you're going to get stuck here for a while. And that sounds kind of scriptural, but it does repeat. It's cyclical. And you are not going through anything as time. You're literally going through, you're moving objects and changing things according to your frequency. So this is very, very important to understand this. And because there's technology in the ethereal, when these objects are moving through, that these aliens have control over. And that's just how it is. You can say that's and you can say how bizarre that is, but that's just what it is. Now, the reason I really back up a lot of a lot of people like that I dearly on my show, one of our main ladies is Lorian Fenton, and she was dearly affected by the death of Max Spears, and so was Aaron, and they talk about that, and you know, it's just very sad that there's an attack on lightworkers right now. I think just because I think we have to expand our light, and we also have to get rid of whatever darknesses are. Or if you're someone like me, like you're just out of the matrix, anybody can be out of the matrix and not affected by this. You just have to understand this and understand that this is a timeline of the collective, and you will literally line up your frequency according to, and your outcome according to you will line up your outcome according to your frequencies. So somebody wrote in, oh, you're just projecting fear, robots coming down from the sky. I'm not projecting fear. I'm telling you what we are seeing. The other thing that and these are not fear. It's also what your frequency is. Like, say you're happy all the time. You're just nothing. You don't get into all this stuff. It doesn't really connect to you. You don't have a lot of baggage. You're really, when all this stuff happens, you might really not be affected. So, and you might slowly be already transitioning to the new earth. And there are other things that are going to happen for this transition, but that's a whole nother topic. So the other thing I have to get back to is the other reason about Max Spears and Aaron, I support them. I dearly support them because I am a light worker who's left my body. I have, there's a reason that I've been able to see certain things, and there's a reason certain people are picked. For whatever reason, I had a recall of literally walking in on what they talk about, that they take their children, they sacrifice them, they do it at certain times, and I had a recall of where they were done in the grid lines and how they do them on the grid lines, and then I was trained. You get trained after you meet the light beings, all your memories come back, and so I can't call that stuff crazy. I personally cannot call Torrey Smith crazy. Now, he rambled on and on about these people, but when you yourself have been out of your body and you've seen this stuff, you have to understand. The other thing I've literally seen is there's a porthole in New York. I talk about it, and our leaders, a lot of them, just sit there and they're transported by something that's not human, and they take orders from him, and they have meetings there. And this is common stuff, and this is going to be common to everybody. This is going to be common to everybody. And a lot of people already know this. That's a portal where some of the dark lords or some of the dark beings that they talk about in the Bible are going to be released and coming down on the earth. And some of them just literally exist there. In order for that amount of evil to exist, and these guys do suck our energy. That is how they exist. They're sucking your energy through your character defects. That is why it's imperative to get rid of them, and they're assigned to, and you're letting them on a higher scheme of things. It's all in perfect divine order. So it's you that are in control, not these other people. It's really good news. And when you find out that you have the energy and the power and the strength to overcome all this stuff, and then you understand it collectively, Gaia can ascend with her people, and then this realm where we have been invaded doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because you have not allowed it into your consciousness. And the truth is, when we get out of our bodies, we are consciousness. That was the first thing that I understood, because I left my body. I watched my body down there. I said, whoa, I have a lot of hair in the back of my head. I looked at all my furniture, and then you look around and you're just alive. You do not die. You are just consciousness. And when you're a consciousness, you understand. You better start thinking about what you're thinking about, because then in the other realms, in the fourth dimensions, with the government and where they're operating with their technology to control you, what you think, you create. Now this is true anyway, but in there it's quicker. It's quicker. There's no third dimension. We're stuck in the third realm, so it takes a long time, and then everybody's thoughts clouded with archons, and and so what you think they're creating negative. What you think you create, it's just, you are the creator. You are God creator. So self, part of God, divine self. And one thing that I wanted to really clarify too, though, I thought was interesting, is I've always been trained from being outside of the matrix. And remember, there are some of us here, I've been brought from another timeline, I was always trained. There is no president after President Obama. And when I look at, now, they have an ability to change that depending on the timeline, depending on our collective, but I still think it's going that way, only because you've got to realize we've got, Hillary is literally a clone of the second degree, in my view. I could be wrong. And I say, look at it for yourself. And then, Donald Trump is not a Satanist. So like I talked about in my last video, there was going to be, that's when you have to be careful. That's when they can make their move on us. Aaron talked about this too. She talked about, President, they don't have another president scheduled after Obama. That's what she talks about just as well. I can't see that. I don't know that. So that's the time that they change history, depending on the collective. That's the time that we have to pray. So it kind of makes sense to me. Now, if there is a president after Obama, it's not a president. It's a story being fulfilled. So, and that will be corrected. And that's kind of how we're trained. So that's when martial law comes in, maybe, is also another, thanks. That's another way that we're trained, that's just how we do it. Now, does that mean that we're powerless? No, again, I believe in the human beings. I believe that if you unite, if you have your frequency at a certain level, I don't watch the television. I try not to have that anywhere around me. I spend an awful lot of time in meditation, and I am beyond thankful. But that's my priority. It's not about me. Let's just take me away. I exist with you. So it's our oneness. Our oneness, it drives me, because I see me in you. I mean, I see God in the human. I see God in the human self that's not birthed yet, in many ways, and in my own ways. So I don't see failure in the human genetic. I don't see anything to be unhappy about. I don't see like running home to extraterrestrials. I see igniting your own extraterrestrial DNA, which I think you have a lot more of than what you could possibly imagine. And I think that's going to be happening too. Well, that is happening. I'm going to talk about that. So I hope that this clarified everything. And I'm just going to keep connected to you. They also said to report to you a lot now, like a couple times a month, so, or as much as I had it, because there's going to be a lot of information coming out from all light workers. And I just do the best I can to just give you the message as pure as I can. So I hope you guys are great. Take care.